This is the dawn of a new era in British karting. Over 550 drivers in 12 classes competing for victory over 18 race weekends. This is the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. With the IAME classes descending on a very hot Three Sisters circuit in Wigan, one of Strawberry Racing's latest arrivals, Rufus Hunt, feels confident that his early run of misfortune can become ancient history as he bids for success at the pinnacle of British karting.
It's my first senior year, so it's been quite difficult, but we've had some up and downs. We've had a few good races and a few not so good, so just got to see how this one goes. It's a very fast and flowing track and you use quite a lot of the tyre, and the races are very long, so you've got to be very smooth. And the minute that you just push the kart too hard, you just go really slow. To be honest, it's just a little bit of my driving, just looking at the data. I'm very professional in there, so just got to do what I've got to do and get all the corners right for the final.
Sean Butcher has pole position in front of Mark Kimber with Danny Curl and Oliver Hodgson on the second row. Teddy Pritchard-Williams and Rory Hudson from Turner and Ravenscroft, Porter and Gordon, then Tillett, Pendlebury, King and Kilner with Louis Westover alongside Jensen Brown, Derek Morgan and Eduardo Cosatang, and then Hudson, Marshall, Wang and Lawrence. This should be a very exciting battle, and let's not forget that the title fight is very, very prominent at the front end of the field. Away we go, cracking start. Sean Butcher trying to keep the lead as Mark Kimber tries to go the long way round. Danny Curl breaks into second position as we go through the S's for the first time, and up and over. That's Archie Tillett going through, and we've got a spinner at the back of the field as the drivers start to make their way up and over the top of the valley and through into the S's and along the old pit straight. Sean Butcher out in front of Danny Curl with Mark Kimber there in third position, and then it's Oliver Hodgson in P4 with place. That looks to me like one of the KRs. That's got to be Clayton Ravenscroft having fought his way further forward. So he is there in P5, a really good heroic comeback after earlier issues in the weekend. But out of the final turn to complete this very quick lap here at Three Sisters. They get back on the power, and Danny Curl already looks like he's setting off after Sean Butcher down the main straight. He could even go for it into the first corner. Butcher is going to resist though as they come through. It's Butcher from Curl, Kimber, Hodgson, Ravenscroft, Hudson, Pritchard-Williams, Turner, Pendlebury and Porter, Nelson King in 11th from Cole Kilner and Jack Gordon. They come through onto the old pit straight once again, and this is going to be a very interesting battle. We are at the stage of the season where obviously dropped scores are going to start to take into account. And Mark Kimber's got to stay as consistent as possible. Danny Curl has got to go for wins and second places wherever humanly possible. So second place is not bad. Let's not forget that you get a bonus 20 points for competing in all 6 rounds of the championship. So even though Danny Curl is going to complete 5 of those weekends rather than 6 and won't need to drop the first round, he will lose those 20 bonus points. So this kind of move is essential. Curl goes for the move. Kimber gets through there as well. So Curl into the lead, Kimber into second place, Butcher down to third. Hodgson is now all over the back of the Australian in third position as Hodgson is trying to seek his way onto the podium. So Danny Curl and Mark Kimber, the 2 main title protagonists. If we take drop scores into account, these 2 are going to be the absolute warriors of the season. So they will battle their way through. Mark Kimber, who's had plenty of success in IAME X30 as a senior. He is the reigning IAME Euro Series title holder, and he's going to try and clinch back-to-back titles next week when a large body of the British drivers actually go out to Europe to compete in the Euro Series. Here he goes, up the inside of Danny Curl. Well, that's a great way to get that bandwagon started. He's just passed the 2017 World Champion. So Danny Curl all over the back of Mark Kimber as they come over the valley and back through to the S's. Dropping down to the old pit straight. So far so good. If you're Danny Curl, this isn't a bit of a frustration, but a second place finish is still pretty reasonable. Louis Westover the fastest man on track at the moment. And Oliver Hodgson behind them, meanwhile, has broken into third position, so he has got Sean Butcher. So the 2 KR Sport teammates are now 4th and 5th, Butcher and Ravenscroft. Then it's Rory Hudson. Teddy Pritchard-Williams going well this weekend there in 7th position. So he looks like he could be a bit of a dark horse for the top 5 in this one. They go down the main straight, and as I talk about him, he's going to make his bid up the inside too. Oh no, that's Thomas Turner, making the bid. Now he is another of the championship protagonists, so he has got to try and get as many points out of this race with these two battling away up front as humanly possible. Mark Kimber sets the new fastest lap of 43.2 in this early phase of the race. That is pretty crucial. So they get their way through the double apex left, through over the curbs and back onto the faster stretches of the circuit, into the Lunar Bend. Great to be back at Three Sisters again after a 6-year absence from the British Kart Championships, and it really is a welcome return. A lot of the drivers basically proclaiming just how fast it is around here and incredibly dynamic. So the leading two starting to stretch away. That's a nice move up the inside from Jack Gordon. I think making the move there on Nelson King. Good moves through the rest of the field as well. That looked like Rufus Hunt trying to make his bid. So the Strawberries are definitely on their way up through the field. Oliver Hodgson, meanwhile, sets the fastest lap of the race. Having dealt with Butcher, he's now trying to close back to these two, Kimber and Curl. Now, this is going to be an interesting development if he does get onto the tail of Danny Curl, because Danny's obviously going to want to be in attack mode to try and get past Kimber, but at the same time will need to adopt a little bit of passive aggression to Oliver Hodgson behind him, because he wants to maintain the position, but he can't rush making the move on Mark Kimber. This is one of those circuits where you've got to be very decisive. 5 minutes is almost up already, and that's Archie Tillett getting a move up the inside there on Nelson King. So he's the latest one to pick a scalp on the Dan Holland racing driver. Up and over the valley, through the S's, and then onto the short pit straight, the old pit straight where the paddock is nowadays, of course, once again, with that long flowing right-hand hairpin, and then into the double apex left, hopping over the curbs, through the kink to the right-hander. And back on the power once again, and then the right flick into Luna. This is going to be such a real thrilling battle between these two. As Kimber goes out a little wide, Danny Curl's got a better purchase off the turn. Now as Pendlebury makes the charge after Thomas Turner, Kimber might decide he's going to get held up here by by Mark Kimber, unless he makes the move. As up the inside, Turner is going to make a late lunge on Hudson. Does he make that one stick? I'm not sure he was able to get through on the inside line there. As they come over the valley, Thomas Turner's going to have another job to get past Rory Hudson. I know he has made it stick. My apologies. He did get through into 6th position there. So it's Kimber, Curl, Hodgson, Butcher, Ravenscroft and Thomas Turner. So the main 6 protagonists this weekend are in that top 6. And Mark Kimber is having a real fight on his hands to shake off Danny Curl. They go through Luna. Back on the power. See, Kimber takes a slightly wider line, but he's managing to bring the kart back onto the racing line at full pelt, so he's able to get a much swifter apex off the turn. They go through the first chicane, no problems at all at the moment for Mark Kimber, soaking up the pressure. That's the Ayami Euro Series title winner from last season. Mark Kimber really wanting to add the British title to his CV, but behind him he's trying to shake off an FIA karting world champion from 2017. Danny Curl all over the back of him. Oliver Hodgson, the PF International driver, in 3rd position, looking so much stronger this weekend. He's had so much bad luck all year, but now here at Three Sisters, they really have got the package together. And I know for a fact that Paul Fletcher is here, watching from the sidelines eagerly and with anticipation to see if Oliver can get himself on terms with the main 2 title protagonists this season. But so far, they're just ticking down minutes. Danny Curl is playing the waiting game here. He doesn't need to rush this on Mark Kimber. He's got plenty of time to deal with him. They go over the valley, into the S's, and through the right-hand hairpin, back onto that straight by the old pits. And then they come through once again in the right-hand hairpin. Double apex left. No major concerns, although now I noticed that Sean Butcher has started to drop his teammate Clayton Ravenscroft, and now it's a 4-man brawl at the front. So Kimber and Curl have been caught by not just Hodgson, but also Sean Butcher, the Australian, doing an absolutely fantastic job at this phase of the race. And he's really starting to come alive. Since he switched teams mid-season, Sean Butcher, I have to say, is looking like a completely different racing driver at the moment. He's got so much confidence as Pendlebury makes the lunge on the inside of Rory Hudson into the first corner. So Pendlebury up into 7th place. Pritchard Williams there in 9th still from Porter. Then Cole Kilner, Gordon, Tillett, Westover, King, Brown, Wang and Armstrong. And then it is Derek Morgan in front of Gus Lawrence, who's really struggled all weekend here. He just doesn't seem to have the same raw pace that he had at the start of the year, when it was looking very likely that Gus Lawrence might be a championship contender in the British Series, but he's just struggled all year long to maintain that pace from PF International, the opening round of the series back in April. So here's Clayton Ravenscroft. bit of a tricky weekend, was battling for the race victory at the start of yesterday's final as Danny Curl makes the move on the inside of Mark Kimber. Now we're going to get a proper race on our hands as Kimber will want to take that lead back pretty sharpish. I was going to say Ravenscroft had a frustrating day yesterday. He went wheel to wheel with Danny Curl in the first corner of the first final yesterday, and they ended up having a moment. Danny Curl was able to go on to win. Ravenscroft dropped it back down the order and then unfortunately received a penalty afterwards that's completely hampered his chances, not just in the race here this weekend, but potentially even in the British title as well. He's lost a massive amount of points and even lost the lead of the championship overall to Thomas Turner. Now, Danny Curl is actually not fighting Mark Kimber for the title because Kimber's missed a couple of rounds of the series to focus on his sports car program. Up the inside though, he wants a win or two, so Kimber is going to continue to battle. This is a nice little warm-up for him to go for the IAMA Euro Series crown next week. The man Curl is actually fighting for the British title then effectively. Well, the two men are in 5th and 6th at the moment, Clayton Ravenscroft and Thomas Turner. As up the inside, Butcher's going to make a very late bid on Oliver Hodgson, and he's through! So the Australian gets there. Absolutely terrific. So for Danny Curl, he can afford still to finish second behind Mark Kimber. It's not going to cost him a massive amount as they continue to battle forward, but it's up to these two guys, Ravenscroft and Turner. They need to increase their points haul this weekend, and now they've got pressure from Pendlebury, who is a bit of a circuit specialist here at Three Sisters. He really does know this place well. Kimber's just out to enjoy himself up front. Having missed a couple of rounds of the championship, he's really going to struggle to get a decent points haul unless he can get victories every time from now on to the rest of the season, and hope that his rivals around him are really going to struggle. But Danny Curl in second place genuinely has a chance to win the British title, even though he missed the first round at PF International. He won't get the 20 points for competing all 6 weekends of the series that drivers are entitled to, but what he has got to do is basically be perfect as many times as possible over the course of the season. That sounds a lot harder than it automatically seems to be, but he's made good work of it in the first 4.5 weekends. One yesterday, of course, to keep the bandwagon rolling. So now he'll need this race to go well. A top 2 will do, and then a potentially perfect weekend again at the last round of the series at Wilton Mill next month. So it's going to be an interesting battle for sure. But if anyone's up to the challenge, it's Danny Curl. Mark Kimber, though, no pressure at all. He doesn't need to worry about points in the championship fight. He just needs to have a great weekend. As Louis Westover has made the move on Archie Tillett for 13th position. And we're going to come through once again to complete the 15th lap of racing here at Three Sisters. Absolutely baking hot circuit. About 30 degrees air temperature at the moment. So the track temperature is going to be around 47 to 48 degrees Celsius. It's the hottest race day of the year. As we go further back down the order, that is Alexander Wang, who is battling away with the 19 of Armstrong. Then Gus Lawrence, Morgan, and then it is Caleb Marshall. So a really interesting battle, not just at the front end of the field, but also in the mid-pack. A couple of drivers struggling a little bit for pace in this phase of the race. This is the hardest point of the race. A lot of what this final result is going to come down to is how the drivers have been taking care and looking after their tyres in this phase of the race. Because of course the drivers have got to be ever so delicate, feathering that throttle round in order to preserve the life of the tyres as much as is humanly possible. Down the main straight, Kimber still has the advantage to Danny Curl. Butcher in third from Hodgson, then Ravenscroft and Turner. The fastest lap of the race now comes from the O-Plate, Thomas Turner, and there's a great battle in the mid-pack. Oh, that got a little bit close for comfort, up and over the curbs. That is one of the Mick Barrett Racing drivers. That's got to be Alexander Wang as he battles with King and Jensen Brown. The two teammates at Dan Holland Racing having a little bit of a scrap there with Alex Wang. Now, Rory Hudson seems to have dropped back a few places. I'm not quite sure whether he was involved in that same little tussle, but he certainly seems to have fallen away down from what was 10th position. I think he and Cole Kilner have had a little bit of a moment somewhere, and that's dropped the two of them down the order. So now up into the top 10 comes the Scotsman Jack Gordon, in front of Westover, Tillett, Kilner and King. And now Kimber is defending. 2.5 minutes to go. This is when the race is going to be decided. So Mark Kimber hanging on for dear life in front of Danny Curl and Sean Butcher. Oliver Hodgson still there in 4th place. Don't count him out. He could still win. But then we've got these 3 drivers battling for 5th place further back. Ravenscroft, Turner and Pendlebury. Down the old pit straight into the right-hand hairpin. Flipping the throttle, blending back on the power for the first apex. Getting back onto it, full nailed. And then a little bit of curve on the exit. Then through the left-hander, up towards Luna. This is going to be such a spicy battle if Danny Curl can make an opportunistic move on Mark Kimber out of time when he's not expecting it. This could go right the way to the wire. You've almost got to time the overtaking move to perfection here because you don't want to be leading it past a certain point. And Kimber, look, just dives to the inside line. He's absolutely frantic as Turner makes the move on Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft goes very deep over the curbs, and there's a chance that Pendlebury might pounce on him over the valley, but Turner has got himself into 5th position. That is crucial as far as the Drivers' Championship is concerned, because that's going to put him a point or two further in front of Ravenscroft's full tally. But on dropped scores, it's all about which rounds you drop. Now, Ravenscroft might be able to drop at least one of these finals, if not both of them, depending on how well he goes for the rest of the year. So Kimber, Curl, Butcher, Hodgson. Hodgson's really started to nail the Australian now as well. Down the main straight. And now Danny Curl's starting to look for an opportunistic move on Kimber. Hodgson's not going to wait around on Butcher. He gets through into 3rd place. Lovely move from Oliver Hodgson. He timed that one absolutely beautifully. And now he's going to try and make a bid on Danny Curl. Now, if he can get past Curl, then almost certainly it's going to be a clean opportunity to get away from Mark Kimber. And he would dearly love to win here at Three Sisters. They come through into the double apex. We're into the last minute, but they're going to cross the line with 2 laps to go. They'll just have a few seconds left. So Mark Kimber's going to have the edge here over Danny Curl for at least one more lap. They're going to cross the line, and there'll be 2 laps left of racing here. They come over the start-finish line once again, and it's Kimber, Curl, Hodgson, Butcher, Turner, Ravenscroft and Pendlebury. These 7 have broken well clear of the rest of the field. It's Pritchard Williams trying to hang on in front of Morgan Porter, then Gordon, Westover, Tillett, Kilner, King and Brown as they go over the valley on the penultimate lap. They're going to run out of time before they cross the line again, and that means we'll get just one further lap in this race. So Kimber trying to stretch the kart as far as it can reach ahead of Danny Curl. You can see on the timer on the top of your screen that the time is ticking down to 0, and when it does so, we'll be ready to start the final lap. Now Kimber's really starting to get defensive on Danny Curl. He knows he's only got one more lap to do as they come through. Hodgson's really starting to bleed in behind Danny Curl as well. The 2 Birrell Art chassis in 2nd and 3rd are going to push the Tony Kart and Mark Kimber down the straight. Last lap begins, and he's absolutely married to the inside line. So they go through the S's, up and over the valley. This is going to be tight to hold on to for Mark Kimber, and he knows it. But Hodgson's pushing Curl all the way. Now, if Curl is going to be able to hang on to 2nd position, he may spend so long defending to keep the place that he's going to let Kimber get away with this one. He's trying, he's finding every possible line he can to gain time on Mark Kimber, but I'm fairly sure the Tony Kart driver for Strawberry Racing has done enough to hang on into Luna for the last time, and it's a perfect run from Mark Kimber, pushed all the way by Danny Curl, but he was never going to lose this one, and he knows his victory is his. Mark Kimber takes the flag in front of Danny Curl, Oliver Hodgson and Sean Butcher from Turner, Ravenscroft and Pendlebury. An absolutely heroic race to the flag, but Mark Kimber has done it in style. Pritchard Williams comes through for 8th, Porter in 9th and Jack Gordon in 10th. Some great races to the flag all the way down the field, but Mark Kimber hangs on for 22 very intense laps around this Three Sisters circuit, and what a victory. But for Danny Curl, he's made massive gains on Thomas Turner and Clayton Ravenscroft in particular in the point standings, and that sets us up for an incredible showdown next month at Wilton Mill. It's a crucial victory for Mark Kimber in his epic duel for the title with Danny Curl, which will go down to the wire in the season finale at Wilton Mill, whilst Oliver Hodgson grabs a well-deserved podium finish.
Set out today again, trying to look for wins. The kart is very good as a lead kart at the front of the race. Unfortunately, doesn't handle quite so well when we're further back in the pack. And in the final, I think we were a quick starter and a quick finisher. We didn't have enough in the middle of the race to do the damage. Again, an enjoyable weekend, and I had a good kart from the Team PFI, and the Birrell product was good. We look to take that to Wilton Mill and get this elusive win.
We struggled a little bit more, but we still had good pace. You know, put in the lead a couple of times in the final. Mark found a little bit, so it was nice to have a nice clean race, and he managed to come out on top. And yeah, I've been going for race wins because obviously, like you say, the championship was not really looking close for me, but obviously now it is. So I ended up using my head and coming home second, which is still a lovely set of points for the weekend. And yeah, just got to say a massive thanks to Jade Engines, Jade Karts and Birrell. Yeah, it was a great weekend for us, and looking forward to the last one.
Yeah, we really struggled at the start of the weekend, so almost changed just about everything on the kart and managed to get it right today by the end. Didn't qualify that well yesterday, so then had a penalty in one of the heats, so started further back, but managed to get a podium. And today, a lot better qualifying on the front row and then staying up the front for most of the heats. And I had a good start in the final, then managed to get to the front, get my head down, did a bit of defending the last few laps, and yeah, came out first, so it was good.